Hey, what's up, guys? Got another deck for you today. I'm just still peeling off that list, and I'm still finding people sending me submissions, which I'm really appreciating, guys. It's really cool to hear your feedback about a lot of these decks. I know multiple people have come to me with their own changes, their own lists, so I've really appreciated it. And honestly, if I could, I would love to do more videos, maybe even just sharing people's specific lists. But for now, we'll just mostly stick to building all these ones that people are giving me. So to start off, we have Resourceful Hercule. Now I am at 61 cards now. Don't worry, I promise I'll cut a card out by the end of this video. Promise. But I'm also going to address a couple of certain cards that I want to kind of like bring up while talking about Hercule, because there's been a lot of talk about Hercule lately, because people have been finally realizing that Hercule's championship belt. I shouldn't say finally, but people have been finally playing him, and people are talking about championship belt. And its balance. Some people, I'm sure, are probably thinking I'm a blasphemer for not running 3 of it. Some people think you only need 1. I don't know, man. I don't know what the right number is, honestly. But we have it in 2 in this deck. I could see it going to 3, and I'll explain why in a second. But is it a very strong card? Absolutely. It really relies on Hercule to getting to his level 3. Which it's really not that hard, yes, considering his level 1 can give you 2 anger, the Fancy 1. And the Fancy 1 automatically grabs you belt. So no matter what path that you go with Hercule, you're facilitating a quicker way to level up with Hercule. Either you get a championship belt out, and that just means you play an Unleash and you instantly get to 3, or the level 1 can slime you up in anger, and it's a 2 anger swing. So, obviously this level 1 is very strong. You can get stuck on it, of course. And you do really hinge around Unleashed, and that is why I think Hercule is totally fine. Yeah, can you do some cheese with him in red, and maybe Black Anger, or something stupid? I suppose Adept, you could probably run him in. That's a different deck for a different day. Yeah, I think he's totally fine. I think he's just cheese, and even when he does his little things, he never really gets to stay on 3 for most decks, so he's not really abusing those crazy double mods, which that is probably more crazy than the level 4, but the level 4 is definitely death by slow cuts. And I know people try to put balls with him. This deck doesn't run balls. We're not red ball here, we don't have red shoulder grab, but we do have the Resourceful Mastery, which has a +1 static stage mod, which, once you get to level 3, which is very easy to do, obviously if you hit an Unleashed, which, again, if you're not the red, you pretty much have to hinge on Unleashed. I suppose, like I said, Orange Adept could run Anger, but and Black, but with Blue, you really hinge around the Unleashed card, which is my issue with, I guess, Blue Hercule, is it's a lot of fun, but it's kind of like all Unleash or bust. So with that in mind, we have to build the deck around protecting Unleash, or making sure that it goes off. But what's really nice, though, is all your modifiers get doubled on 3, and Blue has these really nice AT physicals that you can be running, like Lunge, that's going to be doing AT 10, AT 14 with your level 3. So even if you aren't getting those kicks to like fly you up to 3, you don't even necessarily need the kicks. You might want to actually sit on 3 a combat or 2 once you get there. Getting off the 1 really isn't too hard with the Slime Anger, and if you run a few Slime Anger cards, I feel like in Blue, along with some freestock cards. 2, of course, having that -3/-3 modifier on your opponent's attacks is super huge. Everyone knows like the power of Red Destiny and the Red Blazing Aura, and that's what you get on this MP. And I mean, that is a strength of the red version, is that you stack up on those modifiers, but even without that, he's pretty resilient, and he has so much stage gain from all the dynamite kicks. He can out-action MPs just to purely get them to the point where they're passing with dynamite kick alone. Not to mention he tutors it with his level 2 here. His level 1, of course, getting you championship belt, which again tutors it to your hand. I could see multiple ways of running this. More people focusing on the stage attacks for the double modifier. For me, I kind of have a mixture. Again, we do have 61 cards. Don't Don't get me wrong. We're gonna probably cut it down to 60. That's the plan here. That's just kind of like my thought process here. It's a very, very hard cut, so I'm trying to, as I talk about the cards, I usually get a better idea of how I want to make my cuts. And that's actually one thing I've noticed is I've been making these decklist videos, even these decks that I probably won't even put a game on, probably ever myself, or not many games on. I'm already like, my mind is thinking about them a day or two after. It's like, I was talking to Kevin Dennis about Take Team Cell, which me and him were talking about that deck way back in Michigan, and I was telling him he had it built, and I was like, man, you got to run this card, you got to run this deck, and talking to him a little bit more about that deck, and I was telling him about oh yeah, I did manage to put Stylish Pose in there, and maybe I need to be running Blue Slash in there. Maybe I need to be making it more aggressive, already. And that's a deck that I seriously I haven't played since I made the deck list a few days ago, but I'm just thinking about all this stuff as I like watch the video again, or I'm just like seeing it kind of come up on retro when I click on the retro page and I see Oppressive Cell, or sorry, Blue Tag Team Cell. But I'm getting off track a bit, but I just want to say thank you for everybody that's been kind of discussing things with me. It really helps, and I'm going to try to be vocal about these ideas that come to my head still, try to like hopefully promote some discussion. And we're going to kind of actually get to a card again that I think is kind of maybe underutilized with Hercule that I was actually just mentioning on a post to Mark and Miguel over on Retro. So of course we have Time is Worst to start. We got 3 Unleashed. Gotta have Unleashed with Hercule, I think, if you're not going to run the Anger Vic. We gotta run 3 Sphere. We gotta be able to protect Unleashed. You have to be able to protect Unleashed, absolutely. I would argue to get 3 Confro in here, but I don't know where the spot is right now. This would honestly have to come with playing, and I would probably pull it from the attack line. I just feel like most of the attacks here are definitely warranted at 3s right now, but I'll talk about the ones that I could see cutting, and honestly by the end of this I'll probably cut them down to 2s. I might hate it, we might not, we'll see. But you need to protect Sphere with Hercule, Resourceful. This is a deck that I really haven't played much. I actually have not played Resourceful, maybe Hercule more than like once myself. I've actually been a bigger fan of Resolute for the hand filter, and I've played Protective Hercule. I actually, and Tag Team Hercule even, but Resourceful Hercule is like the one blue one that I haven't touched, so. He's got different dynamics, so I'm trying to play on the Mastery a bit. Again, we have that stage modifier, which you'll see in a sec of like why we have these setup attacks in here and such. But we got Vegeta Ally. Now this is that spicy card, I guess, that I was telling you guys about, that I was trying to hide, but I guess we're just gonna throw them up right away. I don't see this in any Hercule lists. I have not seen him in any Hercule lists ever, and I'm wondering why, because Hercule, I mean, I understand the red version has shoulder grab and crit cards to deal with allies, but the blue version, all you really have is Blue Betrayal. And I don't want to run Tug of War in this deck. I love Tug of War to death, but why not Vegeta Ally? You can use him for a board wipe of your opponent's allies. And you can use his power immediately, because of the championship belt. So I just think he would be a good splash in, especially with people running all these allies, especially you East Coasters out there that love to run your Gohan ally decks. Like all of you guys. I don't know why you all just have a hard-on for Gohan ally. I've always been more of a Gohan solo myself, but everybody's into their own category things, when we go home at night. But here we have, of course, Guru Ally and Mr. Announcer. And, Mr. Announcer, you don't have to put him in every deck, but I think he's worth running. The free draw for you as Hercule, being able to just dig through your deck quicker, get an extra card advantage, I think it's worth running, even if you don't have the ally searchers. But maybe I could see him getting cut, purely because we're going to always gravitate towards Guru. But, Announcer's great for when you don't want Vegeta, and Vegeta's great for when you don't want Announcer, I suppose. And that's kind of a reason why we have Belt at 2, because you generally aren't going to need to play it more than once. You're generally going to get Guru Ally and just instantly try to level. So we want to kind of play on the strengths that Red has and the advantages that Red has when they play Hercule, which is that they can kind of slime their way up to level 2 with Anger. And because we have that Anger in Red, we kind of want to like maybe incorporate a little bit in Blue. We do already have a hit effect Anger on 2, which you'll see kind of reflected into my card choices. But Guru Ally, knowing when to use Guru Ally in this deck specifically is very important. So like I said, we want to maybe try to put some more anger cards, so that's kind of something I've tried to do a little bit of. There's not really a lot in blue. Not a lot of good ways to get anger in blue, but you know, I'm kind of trying to put it through my choices here. We have Blue Rebuke at 1. It's such a good one. I mean, honestly, it sucks that you can't pitch it to Mastery to put it in play, like all the styled attack setups. But any Blue Unleashed deck, I think, needs to at least run this at like a 1 or 2. It's so good. I don't know how often you're really going to get it. Depends on the matchup. I think it's a good 1 for Hercule because Tree of Might can take the other spot of the non. Maybe you're thinking that you want 2 of Rebuke. Maybe you don't even want Rebuke. Maybe you want 2 Tree of Might. Maybe you don't want Tree. I could see where this is very subjective. In general, I think a lot of these decks are subjective, but for the most part, you're going to be running kind of the same package. So really, you need to just be running an Unleash package. And I think one of each of these for the right situation is good, because some decks you're never going to get Rebuke off, and some decks Tree of Might's the one that you want. And sometimes you might even want to grab Smug Punch over both these cards. We have 3 blue Sword Stance, of course. Staple. I should probably turn off Facebook while I'm in these videos, but of course we have Sword Stance is a staple resourceful card. Very, very good. Just a recyclable attack if it hits. We want to play on the strength of Resourceful while we're playing Hercule and Resourceful, and again, it does suck that he doesn't really maximize on his modifiers bonus that he'll get on level 3 when you're there, but either way, respectable card. It's got endurance. It can do life card damage, kind of nice. Stretch Kick, of course. This card is insane on your level 3. It can come in for a hot AT10, except it's going to be coming in for 18-14 with your Mastery and Hercule. You know, even if you're in A, 15 stages when somebody's stage locked is pretty legit. Or you're at least going to stage lock someone with pretty much every attack you're going to hit on level 3. Which is another reason why anger on this card is so important. Which is another reason why blue off Balance Punch, you would maybe argue could make it in here. It's just mostly spacing. And that's the thing, when you're running these blue resourceful decks, you really have to be careful about what physical attacks you choose. And generally you are going to be running mostly physical attacks. Just because all the physical attack setups are so good. And as well as just also the fact that all the cards that go and grab your setups that are attacks are physical attacks. It's kind of like, you know, Orange Uppercut can be run in energy decks and physical decks, but blue doesn't necessarily have that luxury. They're not really going to be running. I can see blue Lunge being run in slower blue decks, but really you're never going to see blue Tempo in a non-like resourceful blue deck for the most part. But yeah, that's, I guess, one of the issues, you know, of like trying to fit them, of all these attacks. You know, another thing is you have to prioritize if you want to do stage damage or life card damage, and the problem with blue physical is you're split right down the middle. You have these really, really strong blue physicals like Head Knock, Slash, Blue Slide, that all are life card damage. They're all flat life card damage other than Slide. I suppose there's only 3 cards there, but they're all super, super powerful and considered staple cards for blue. I mean, the common joke about blue was that you run decap, and oh, you're playing a blue deck. I guess you just got 6 blue slides, or sorry, blue slashes. I'm saying blue slide. The whole joke, the decap joke, you know, it's like, and that alone you have to consider when you're building even a resourceful deck that wants to be generally pushing that stage damage. You know, it's something you really have to consider when you're building. And maybe at times that'll muddy your deck choices, which maybe it has muddied mine right now. You know, I guess we'll see how we feel when we get to the end of this list. Like I said, we're here to make cuts, and it always gets easier the more you think about it. We have 2 championship belts. Again, my reasoning is you really don't ever need it more than once. But hey, maybe you're in a matchup where you need to go grab Vegeta, and maybe you get stuck on one a little bit longer than you want to, and then you get to go grab Announcer and dig into your deck quicker for Unleashed. Just kind of depends. But I think Vegeta is just a really flavorful splash. You don't give a shit about your allies. You really don't. You're really just there to pop Gru off and never see him again. That is really all he's here for. So you just gotta be realistic. I think Vegeta is a very fair splash, considering that your only board hate with Blue Hercule for allies is Blue Betrayal. That is the only like good one that you're going to be running. If you're running Blue Barrier, I mean, you're really, really limiting yourself to that specific ally matchup to where that card is actually useful, and you're to detriment to your own allies. So it's very, very. I could see flip. You know, I can understand Blue Toss, but that card having to hit, it's just not worth it. Let's see, where are we at? I gotta just. Here we go. We are on Dynamite Kick. Of course, the main card for a lot of Hercule decks. Not necessarily for this one. Like I said, level 3 is really powerful with all your stage attacks, which maybe is the reason why we should actually, by the end of this, cut some of these life card ones that I'll be talking about in a moment. But Dynamite Kick, of course, giving you those stages, it helps you action around Mischievous Mastery. It helps you get around Sane Sword Strikes, Sane Anguish Drills that make you want to, waiting for you to pass. It's just a really good card. You can let it sit on the board forever. Now it is susceptible to things such as Sane Energy Focus, and I think there's that black energy that nobody ever has ran in the history of ever from set 7. I don't even remember what it's called. It's so irrelevant that I still don't even think that can actually banish it. Oh no, it can. It's off the board. But either way, it goes back to your life deck in the combat. You're never going to not see these damn things. It's just one of the things that kind of helps make Hercule hard to kill, I suppose, if you're getting them looped right enough. But also just the high amount of stage gain and really being able to give yourself a lot of actions is just something that is like something that you really, really have to appreciate as Hercule. It really, really lets you play around your opponent quite a bit and mind game your opponent about what you might have in your hand. Of course, we have 2 Dashing Punch. I'm Dashing Punch in here mainly for the Anger Hate and the Anger. Being able to, maybe if you ended a combat, throwing your level 1 and you hit, and you're sitting at 2 Anger and you enter a combat and you throw this, they gotta choose. If they're an Anger deck, they really, really gotta choose whether they're going to take that Dashing Punch or if they're going to let your level 1 hit and let you get a level. And then that's when I think a smart resourceful player, when they're hitting 2, is when they're going to really try to pop that Guru ally. Devastating Blow, it's a freestyle card with Anger. I mean, we don't have a lot of styled cards with Anger, so it's purely because they got that Anger. Again, you kind of have the same factor of the Dashing Punch, where maybe you can lead this from a combat where you had 2 Anger on level 1, or just slime yourself. But also, it's just the pile hate is so important right now. I think you have to have Death Blow in any physical deck. It's hard. I shouldn't say any. Ruthless, I can understand not running it, but everything else, you should be running this card. It is so good. And of course, we got 3 Dev Blow. Awesome card. When you're on level 3 Hercule, even if you're not on level 3 Hercule, being able to throw unpreventable attacks, so strong. And, again, if you are locked down on that one, you pop this card to get to your level 2, and then you go grab Guru with your your championship belt. Just another way that a Hercule player can play around and play smartly with his auto levelers to get to that level 3. Not to mention the fact that if you auto level your opponent with an effect, the mastery will also draw you a card. So there's incentive, especially against a lot of these decks that want to camp one, like Supreme Kai, Combative Kami, a lot of combative decks in general, and some mischievous decks. Also, you might you are able to action rob potentially someone to put them on another level. By hitting them with Dig and leveling them up before maybe they got a really advantageous level power. I can't think of one specifically at this time, but it's possible. Either way, Dig is worth it for all the effects. It's knowing when to bump your opponent with this card is definitely going to be key, because you got to remember, if you can get to 3, your damage is going to be coming in ridiculous. Especially when you start getting Tree of Might. I mean, again, so many big modifiers. Everything gets doubled. So stupid. And you see already, as we're moving down this list, I'm already convincing myself that I'm actually probably going to cut Blue Slash, and some people are going to think I'm crazy for it, and some people are going to think I'm crazy for not having Confrontation or Decap in here right now. So, I mean, again, I think this deck list, you really have to choose which direction you're going, but I think with Hercule, Resourceful specifically, you should probably go in for the stage beats. We have Blue Lunge at 3, again, one of the big combo cards of Resourceful that you're really going to be trying to push. You have to run this card in Resourceful. I mean, right now we don't have as many setups as I want to, but if you think about it, I mean, we do have 1, 2, 5, 8, 9, 10 setups that we can grab, all of which are very powerful. and well, we don't mind seeing interplay. And honestly, the sooner you can get tree, honestly, the better. Being able to just not draw into a rebuke and instead filter it out of your deck or into your, into play with a lunge, super powerful. Not to mention this card like Stretch Kick does a ridiculous amount of damage. It is also one of the few attacks in the deck. Well, I suppose it's more than one of the few, but one thing we have to remember is all these attacks that don't have printed anger on them also can hit lower your opponent's anger. Now, it's not a consistent way to keep your opponent's anger down. If anybody who has played Ruthless will tell you, not reliable, but it's something that you have to remember, and something that I think, especially for a newer player to Resourceful, needs to remember, is that every one of your attacks you have to think about whether or not it can lower your opponent's anger or not, and that should really help you determine how much anger hate that you need to pack in. Now again, we are blessed that we are heroes, and we can use Dashing Punch, and that we do have Dev Blow, of course, in here, but that's something to consider too, of like how many cards in our deck can actually lower our opponent's anger to keep them stage locked. Remember though, if you do get to 3 and you play smart, this card, all those stages that you may have dug your opponent to, instantly gone, plus they're going to take a critical hit just purely from like Hercule and the Mastery. Sorry, he'll be taking 14, so almost damn near a critical damage effect hit. So you have to think about that too. We have Blue Tempo, of course, at a 3. Again, combo piece of Resourceful. Once you just want to maximize those actions. It's really nice to get those board cards out of your deck, but they are really nice in your hand, and I think that is something you have to remember when playing this Mastery. Is while you have all these two big tutor cards at 3-ofs, it's probably more of an incentive to actually run the off-balance punch, and another reason to probably try to throw out sword stances, and maybe more of a reason to block sword stances when you're playing against an opponent that's playing Resourceful. Is you got to think about how many setups you have in your deck when you're playing these cards, and again, that's probably a reason why we're going to probably go in and add off-balance punch, because we can even enter with these cards in our hand, or be entered on, and always put these in play for an extra attack. And that's another thing, it's just Hercule getting all these actions in this deck, between Dynamite Kick, being able to pitch cards to Mastery, being able to pitch, or getting double up on attacks with Tempo and Lunge, super strong. Blue Knee, again, this card plays right into your Mastery. It can give you an anger if it hits, but it just plays into that Mastery draw so well, and it also kind of helps make up for maybe the lack of really good anti-anger. You can definitely bait people by not blocking this. Something to consider. Plenty of other attacks you can throw into combat. Plenty of ways you can stall out someone into combat and force them around with this card. It's just something to consider. Of course, you have Blue Betrayal. We gotta run this card at 3. Absolutely. It's your only consistent board hit card. One thing I would like to really see for blue is maybe like a motivational kick. I shouldn't say I hope to see it, but that is a card that I've fallen in love with, and damn, like blue could really use something like that. Something loopable that's weak, whereas Blue Betrayal is just weak and not loopable. I suppose blue does have the benefit of having decap though. Now Smug Punch, you don't really care about this card. This is literally just to attach. It's got the champ on it though, so I don't know. But it's really just in order to attach. I could see it getting a cut down to 2. Since we are running a rebuke and a tree, but again, we got and belts, but we want to make sure that we really don't need to worry about too much about seeing this card. So, what we're already going to do is, there we go, we already hit our 60 right there. Now, Head Knock, I think this card is so hard to not run. If blue had like a blue Sane Trample kind of effect, I suppose it does with the blue Android Headbutt, which is garbage 99% of the time. I could argue you not running this card, but it's so damn hard. I've tried not running this card in a lot of decks, and I always put it back in. It is just too good to not run for its versatility. Now, Slash, very good card. People might expect it against you, but I'm gonna tell you right now, we are trying to push stage beats, and you're better off running a decap in this spot, being able to get your betrayals back, being able to double up on those lunges, being able to double up on potentially pick out a tempo that fell in the pile, being able to do a blue knee, being able to do a blue head knock. I mean, I'll take those utility effects over having to hit mill, because I can do way more damage with a dig or a level 3 Hercule that's hitting like a 14 stage attack versus a life card attack and you mill. And the mill is just dependent on their anger, you know. So I don't know if decap at 3 is the right number. Don't get me wrong here. It might be the wrong number. And again, maybe if I wasn't running maybe decap at 3, and I cut the Vegeta ally and I cut the announcer ally and just said screw it, you know, then I would have 3 more slots in my deck that I could be running Blue Off Bounce Punch, which I think would be really, really great at. Maybe we'll do that actually, you know, you never know. We might just say screw the allies. Maybe again you're one of the people that is in the camp of, hey, 99 endurance, gotta have 3 of them. You know, everyone can build this deck differently, and I think my choices don't have to be your choices. My reasonings don't have to be your reasonings. I mostly give my reasonings to hopefully kind of make other people think and discuss. And sometimes I'm wrong. You know, I hate to admit when I'm wrong at times, but I think we all do, and I think it's a good kind of philosophy is that not every deck has only one way to be built. So of course, we get down to the blocks. These are the final cards in the deck, and this definitely can change. Absolutely, I totally agree. Now, my choices, personally, were Deterrence and Crouch for physical blocks, and Defensive Stance for an injury block. Some people are going to be running other ones. Me, personally, I like Deterrence because Lower Anger 2 is really good. Defensive Anti-Anger is very, very strong. But also, Crouch is loopable, and we are an A, and you can get your head beat in by these physical decks. So I think it's worth running. It's got a ton of endurance, so it's good in the energy matchup too, for the same reasons that's good in the physical, and it's loopable. We're never really going to be drawing too often to recur this, because we're not Resolute, which was one benefit of why I liked Resolute. But I think it's still worth running. I could understand if people wanted to run Wrist Block or Leverage. I think those cards, I always fluctuate putting those cards in. It kind of depends on how often I think I'm going to see it, like a Depth Physical or Resourceful Physical. And I just don't see a lot of them anymore. So that's why I've started to take out those cards. And this deck doesn't really care about a lot of setups, so I wouldn't really worry about running Precarious Defense, which is a favorite card of mine when I'm worried about certain, like when entering setups, such as VTP or Red Relaxation, Prideful Challenge, Vegeta's Prideful Challenge. And then we have Defensive Stance. This is because it gives anger. That's why I have it in here. You know, blue doesn't have a good physical block that gives anger. Otherwise, I would probably run it over Crouch. But Safeguard is just not reliable enough to where I think it warrants running over Crouch. And I could see the argument that somebody might want to run on the move. I just don't like putting it in a deck inherently, I suppose. We do want to dig in the deck faster, so maybe it is a better choice. But for me personally, it's just not really for me. So, like I said, 3 more card choices I suppose you could do. You could cut these 2 allies, the Announcer and the Vegeta, and you could be running maybe a blue off Balance Punch, right? Be more tutors. It does go with the theme of the deck a bit more, and I'm really kind of leaning towards it, but maybe I can find cuts somewhere else. Maybe you can't. Maybe you have a very different list than me. But this is so far what I've come up with. Hopefully it kind of gives some people some ideas. I know there's a lot of talk about Hercule though. Another card I guess I wanted to just bring up while we're talking about Hercule, since people are really, really crying about championship belts. I suppose I'm coming off a little salty. I shouldn't come off so abrasive. I know people are complaining about it, the parenthetical, and don't get me wrong, I think it's really stupid design-wise too. I totally agree. You know, a lot of the guys who were playing at the East Sky tournament were very kind of like, yo, this is stupid, and I totally agree. Totally agree. In the case of Kelly's deck, he didn't really care about Unleashed. He didn't run Unleashed, so he had easy ways to be able to get up in level and take advantage of Belt. And of course, if you couldn't kill him when he's on 4, you know, if you couldn't stop him from getting to 4, or getting him off 4, then he's just going to sit there and keep throwing stuff at you. And stop you from MPPing and just slowly killing you. And I understand that's not a very fun way to play, and that's just how Hercule plays. But I was going to say, I'm pretty sure you can still shuffle the championship belt. I think people were saying, yeah, you can't banish it or destroy it, but you can still shuffle it. So I know Kevin Curtis actually even mentioned this card about being 1 endurance away from being playable. But hey, you know, heroic jab. can shuffle that card back in. Roshi's Kamehameha. So maybe it's time to bring back Roshi if everyone's afraid of Hercule. But maybe, maybe Hercule isn't as bad as we think. Maybe he's just really just kind of cheese. Either way, if you wanna partake in the cheese, everybody has their own opinion about Hercule. I think he's pretty fun. I've always liked him since he came out, and I think he can definitely cheese some games away. And if you play him smart, like I said quite a bit in this video, I think if you play him smart, you can really, really surprise people. Maybe Confrontation needs to be in here too. I don't know. We'll see with testing. I probably will want to add more setups. I'm just looking at it now. I want to see how well the Announcer and the Vegeta work, because really at the end of the day, we just want to dig in the deck quicker. So maybe being able to just having these allies, digging my deck quicker, give me an extra action is the same thing as maybe having an extra setup I would have grabbed with a tempo or with a lunge. If you think about it that way, you could have even drawn into one of those two cards with Announcer or an Unleash quicker. So just things to think about. And Vegeta, being a board clear. Either way, hopefully this gives you guys some ideas. Like I've said, I'm going to be uploading some more videos. I'm going to keep trying to do these deck lists for everyone. I guess going down the list, if you want to see anything made, you want me to play something, hit me up, post on the retro page, put the bat signal up. But I'm always there for you guys. I really appreciate the community. You guys are awesome. Thanks for the feedback. I'd love to see what you guys have to say about my opinions. You might think I'm dead wrong. Hey, I can't blame you if you got more experience than I do, or you just have a different opinion than I do. But I really like to hear from you guys. So thanks for all the support. Keep watching the vids, and keep playing Z. Thanks.